It is my testimony that the border is secure. The border is not open. The border is closed. Our borders are not open.
Did you feel that you had the support from the president in order to succeed?
There were areas of disagreement within immigration policy and in other areas, but I voiced my views. I was very pleased that in June of 2024 we took executive action that I thought made reforms that were sensible,
if those
and that proved successful.
If those executive actions had been taken 1 or 2 years earlier, do you think Donald Trump would be the president today?
I am not in a position to speculate, but I will tell you that I would be far more better rested and less punched.
Okay, that was Biden's Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. First, you heard him testifying to Congress and talking to the media multiple times while in office, claiming that the U.S. border was secure, that it was shut down. Now he admits it was open and says he was personally upset the Biden White House delayed immigration enforcement actions until the final year of President Biden's term. Mayorkas was impeached by the House in 2024 on claims that he intentionally did not enforce U.S. immigration laws. Let's welcome to the show former Trump DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary Jonathan Fahey. So what do you make of this kind of 180? A lot of people were hurt and killed. More than 8 million crossed illegally, including criminals, hundreds of gang members. Trento Aragua, MS-13. Nearly 300 Trento Aragua gang members just arrested since Trump took office last year. What do you make of Mayorkas here?
He's trying to salvage what's left of his reputation, and I don't think he's doing a very good job of it, because as you showed that clip where he testified and repeatedly said the border was secure. So is he now saying he was lying to Congress? And we all know he was derelict in his duty, and it wasn't just a few things. They were, he's now blaming not only the White House, but Congress. He's also blaming the end of Title 42 for the reason all these people are coming across the border. But remember, they were numbers as high as 300,000 people in a month coming across the borders. He wasn't calling them illegal aliens. He wasn't telling them to leave. He was calling them newcomers, asylum seekers, encouraging them to come in. And you're right, when you talk about there are people dead because of the policies of Biden and that he was in charge of enforcing the law and he didn't enforce. We have Laken Riley. We recently have Sheridan Gorman up in Chicago. She was a Biden Mayorkas person that they let in without any legitimate claim of asylum, but let him in here with essentially giving him status to stay in the country, and he ends up murdering somebody. So I don't think he can do it. He could blame everyone, but he has a level of responsibility that he never took responsibility, didn't follow his oath, and if he didn't agree with the administration, maybe he should have said something, or maybe he should have resigned. But he knows he's the one that's being blamed by everyone, and the Biden administration, all the Democrats, implicitly suggest all of the problems occurred because he was incompetent. So I think he's trying to push back on that as well.
You know, a lot of people, lawmakers said we almost lost the country because of open borders. You know, in 2024, Mayorkas blamed Congress for Biden failing to act on the border until 5 months before the presidential election. So, you know, when you put it all together, I mean, what's the Biden legacy right now?
I think the Biden legacy is open borders, mass amnesty on this issue, and I don't think there'll be anything else that people will even come as a close second to remembering about Joe Biden other than maybe his cognitive issues. So he is the open borders president, and we really did come close in many ways to losing the country. We can't let in 300,000 people a month unvetted.
Got it. Jonathan Fahey, thank you so much. It's great to see you.